each other. Neither one of these is being compassionate with each other. You see, peace is this of love that accepts, that we can move into in our consciousness to accept things as they are and be better than what our first fearful response. Because our first response is often fear. Okay, I'm going to ask this question. I'm just hoping that once in my life somebody's going to raise their hand to this. Is everybody here absolutely happy exactly as it is now? Yeah! You get to come up and talk the rest of the time. Yeah, I mean, we all want a little bit different than we are. We all want to experience more good. We all want to experience more love. We all want to experience more harmony, more abundance, both in experience and wealth. These are all desires that we have within us. We have also, on the flip side of that, the fear that none of these desires will ever be met. And this creates the little dichotomy in our mind that us from being peaceful. So I had an experience on Monday where my wife was in an auto accident, and she's okay. Everybody in the car is okay. Everybody in the other car is grateful for that. But I got the phone call, and my heart started going. And it's first of all, it's with everybody's okay, and then with now what, right? And so I had to work and drive to the site of the accident because the car was not. It was drivable, but we were waiting for people and all that kind of other fun stuff. And it was in a neighborhood in Philadelphia, which is probably not the best neighborhood in the world. We're working on getting it there. And the first thing that happened when I got there was that I helped my wife get out of the car and all that kind of other, checking on everything. And then my heart started going because now I had to confront the driver. Ever been in that? And I'm like, okay. My adrenaline is running high. You have just threatened my family with an automobile. I'm ready to go at it. And then I stopped. And this is where the training comes in. I said, okay, I recognized consciously that my body was working on adrenaline, that there was no longer anything to be fearful of, that whatever challenge had happened and it was over with, and that what I was doing was I was projecting the need to fight. So I took a deep breath. I said, you know what? This other person is going to be scared. They're going to be worried that their insurance is going to go up and all of the things that go along with an accident. And it was a company car and all that kind of thing. And so I realized that the person was also in a heightened state of fight or flight. And instead of jumping right in, saying, what were you thinking? I took a breath. Now, this is one of the keys to reduce the adrenaline level, to reduce our desire to confront. It's just breathe. Take a deep breath. You feel the relaxation with the exhalation. The shoulders go down. Just a simple breath reorients us to being in a place of acceptance. This is key to peace, acceptance. And so I took my deep breath. And with that breath came what I like to think of as God thoughts. How can I help this person not be afraid? They weren't hurt. So the first thing I did was ask if they were okay. And I saw, kind of brings tears to my eyes sometimes, I just saw, this is not going to be a confrontation. And so we changed all the information that we needed to do. We got all the people on board. It took about 2 hours. We were waiting for the Philadelphia police until we called the Philadelphia police, and they said, you better come to the district and report this, because otherwise be there for 5 hours, nobody was hurt. I said, okay. Drove off to the district and all the stuff that you got to do for that to keep people in line. And so it's unfolding still, but the point is that one moment where I had a choice, and we all have this choice. Every time we're confronted with something that challenges our very survival, or at least we think we do. I mean, it's amazing how we attach to survival now. Not getting the correct change. Wawa. Survival issue. I'm sure you have your own examples where you can think of some little silly thing that went on that just like got your adrenaline pumping, and all of a sudden and I'm sorry, but there's a lot of us, and we've been thinking about this for a long time, right? We've been getting into that adrenaline rush and that fight or flight mode since we began as human beings, when we were being chased around by mastodons, and so we put this into our collective consciousness, that this idea must be, and then we can feed it. And this is with all of the ideas that we may consider negative. Poverty, racism, misogyny, that seems to be on the rise lately. All of these ideas are things that we agree to, things that we accept as the norm, things that keep us from getting to 3rd Street in peace. We believe it collectively, perhaps not individually. But my feeling is, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I've been a minister for a long time, and I've worked on spiritual aspects for a long time, and I still find myself saying them on occasion. I wish they'd just stop doing that. Now, instead, I wish they'd just stop doing that. Yeah. But that's because we believe there's some separation going on. We don't have a mental equivalent for what peace actually looks like. We develop the idea of what it is to live in harmony and equality and prosperity with everyone. We're still working on that, and we need to keep working on it, because without the mental equivalent, the law has nothing to work with. principle will continue to get mixed messages and bring us about a mixed result. So I invite you, when you run into these thoughts, and you will run into these thoughts, because that's the nature of the consciousness that we have imbibed since we got on this planet, to be aware, to raise your consciousness, to focus on it, and trust me, don't deny it. Because if you deny it, you just down, and you end up doing it over and over and over again. Honor the thought, recognize it as, that's not a thought I keep. You are now going to go somewhere else. I don't really care where you go in business. And think of the opposite, if you can. Or if you can't think of the opposite, take yourself back to your happy place for 30 seconds and come to a place of acceptance so that we're not adding to the negativity that we are putting into the law. See, it's real simple. And what we teach is there's a law. Law is cause and effect. The cause is our thoughts. The effect is everything. There's a divine law and a divine thought. It thought, and here we are. Completely improbably. I mean, if you think about it for a moment, I usually use the Hubble Space Telescope shot to this. Okay. Anybody seen the Hubble Ultra Deep Field shot? Yeah, person in the back. I invite you to go to NASA's website and take a look at this. It's mind-blowing. Okay. What they did with the Hubble Space Telescope, and they pointed at a speck in the sky that they thought was empty, right? For 11 days, twice, give or take. Now, it's about the ratio of me holding a hand at my arm's end. Right? They looked into that dark space that they thought was empty, and they found thousands, like on the order of 10,000 galaxies. Yeah. I went, huh? 10,000 galaxies in that little speck of sand. Now you think about that. Make those little specks of sand in a sphere. That's big. That's what's out there. That's what this power is making. And then this power that made all of that, galaxies and stars and planets and, one that we live on, created consciousness. The improbability is just astounding that we're here right now. I would go so far as to say it's divine, that we be consciousness evolving to a greater understanding of what is happening with us and as us and through us. So first, choose peace. That's a decision we have to make when we get into that adrenaline mode, when we get into the challenges of life, when we're confronted with this. There's all sorts of them. The medical diagnosis. There's a tough one, right? That gets all the adrenaline moving. We go to a minor deity, and the minor deity has told us that something is out of balance. And the first response that we have is, oh my God, yes. That's a good place to start. It really is a good place to start. And we're agitated in our mind. We're not being peaceful. We have forgotten that the nature of the individual, the very essence of who we are, is an eternal beingness, part of the one that is ever unfolding in a greater expression of its own being through us and as us. So whatever is going on, when we feel isolated and separated and our fight or flight mode kicks in, agitated in our mind, the first step is to choose to be peaceful in our mind. That's easy, right? That's our natural response. I like type it better. It's okay. I'm sure Reverend Kathleen actually flows through the gracefully. I move around too much. I've been told that once in a while. She just glides. Oh, that would work too. Yeah. All right. So now that we've talked about the technology way more than we should have, what I'd like to do is just leave you with some thoughts. There's some good news, some great news. The good news is that whatever happened before, whatever you have thought before, wherever you have been before, whatever you have experienced before, whatever we have done as humanity before, does not bind us to continue doing it. That's called principle. It is not bound by precedent. So this infinite power that is flowing through everything, bound by the fact that we screwed this up somewhere down the line. It can create stars. It created us as co-creative centers of consciousness, change the direction that it's going. So the first thing is get a bigger picture. This helps to bring peace about our consciousness. If we don't have a bigger picture, then we are feeling small and isolated and alone and fearful. All of those things that we can experience even in the mildest forms. And we respond with those negative emotions that bring about a greater resonance of those negative emotions. Because we say it often in New Thought. You have to be it before you can receive it. So if you want peace, you have to choose to be at peace now. Not, okay, I'm going to be agitated and scream for a little bit, and then I'm going to be at peace. Although it does help. I usually use a pillow because I'm a minister. Scream into that. That way people don't hear me so much. And then I come and tell you guys about it. So that's number one. Get a bigger picture. Number two, take a breath. Whatever is haunting you in this moment, remember to take a conscious breath. Because it will help to drain off some of the agitation and allow you to respond in a way that can be loving, can be compassionate, can be understanding of the very nature of who we are as a shared humanity. That's spirit working through us. Number three is, this is the one that I just hesitate to tell everybody, but it requires discipline. Nobody likes to hear that in New Thought. I mean, I can't just do a treatment and it's done. Yeah, do the treatment and it's done until you start thinking what you used to think. And then you need to change that. It requires the discipline of being aware of your thoughts and counteracting them with what you really want to experience, as opposed to what you used to think. One of the ways that we discipline ourselves is by meditation. The meditation we did this morning was beautiful. It was a contemplation of that mental equivalent of what peace is. See, because it's easy to be peaceful when we're sitting on the back porch in a nice sunny afternoon, sucking down whatever you happen to enjoy, and relaxing when we're around that campfire, right? It's much more difficult to be at peace when we have to interact with other people, even those we love and are dear to us, because sometimes they know how to get us going. When we meditate, there's a physiological change in our bodies, yet again. It releases endorphins and all sorts of other things. You'd have to talk to a doctor about it because I'm not a doctor. I just read about it. That allows us to be at peace. And we can always, when we have developed that mental equivalent of how we can be at peace, we can always go back to being at peace when we are confronted by that adrenaline rush of fight or flight. And the last I wanted to say about this was that we work on it individually so that we can do it collectively. When we are peaceful individuals, then we can gather together as peaceful groups. Two come to mind that have changed the world by being peaceful loudly. Mahatma Gandhi, who changed the entire course of a nation by sitting down and meditating, and by also getting up and walking. Meditating's great. Putting it into action was key to that as well. Stand up for something and be against nothing. The other was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who led the peace marches. You all know this. Each one of us is the same divine idea embodied. Each one of us can be that if we let go of our fears and our adrenaline rush and saying that it can't happen, because as long as we're saying it can't happen, we're right. Ernest Holmes said that give him 100 people who stood for something and against nothing, and we could change the world. We are well over 100 people. If we clarify our consciousness, if we work together, remembering that each person on this planet is a divine incarnation of a perfect, whole, and complete idea. It's a channel of love and wisdom and creativity. And truly accept that we are one, maybe we'll go see those 1,000 galaxies. Thank you for having me with you today. Namaste.